Let's begin resting on the back on the mat, letting your eyes softly close, letting your arms and legs, hands and feet, fingers and toes release out to the mat. I loved going to Rasa Yoga classes in New York because I would go there after a hard day's work and get to lie down on a nice cushioned mat. There weren't sticky mats. It was a cushioned mat, and there was a soft pillow underneath my head. The mats were laid out already for me. There was no jostling around, finding your place, and people putting their mats here and there and kind of in disorder. It was just all laid out, and you could just go and lay down and rest and let the arms and the legs completely relax. Let your eyes close and begin to just settle in. Feel the release of the whole body. Begin to move into a deeper internal space. As the class started, the resonance of the voices, the teacher's voice, the students' voices, took me deeper and deeper into a place where I was no longer in that rushing, doing, thinking mode, but instead really feeling what it was like to be in my body and in my space.
In other classes, I never got that deep initial relaxation feeling. I'd have to work so hard with all the poses and then watch the clock or just keep thinking, when are we going to finally get into Shavasana when I could relax? Whereas in a Rasa class...
You just started Shavasana.
It's an act of lengthening the spine, raising the side ribs. It was just the most wonderful experience at the end of the day.
Yeah. For a lot of people, I think doing humming, especially the first time, feels a little awkward because you might have constrictions in your voice or in your breath, or you might even not feel that comfortable doing it. But that once you get used to doing it, you realize that it takes you deeper into the posture and helps you be more in your own body, kind of gets you out of your thinking mind a lot of the time. If you can overcome the resistance enough to just sort of go, wow, what was that? The advantage of not explaining and having this really bizarre experience is that it's unusual. It's almost like it jolts the nervous system into a different space. I think it really develops confidence in your own voice and being in a way because you're expressing yourself. It's verbal, but it's not words, and you're really tuning into your own rhythm and finding your sound. Some of the discomfort that people may feel at the beginning, like hearing their voice, over time I think becomes really soothing and is in fact quite soothing to the nervous system, which is one of the main goals of a restorative practice, is to let the nervous system really rest and reset itself. And if you think about it like mothers singing to their babies, these familiar tones, and the humming and the toning is like that. It's like it really is self-soothing once you get over the unusualness of it.
I think they've liked it. I think the chanting has been an addition, but it was a surprise. Yeah. Humming. Yeah. Humming intensifies the posture.
Because I've had this sometimes in classes where they'll say, just breathe out, like do but I don't think that is enough. I think that when you're doing a posture does something different. You could do probably a 30-minute meditation afterwards because you're so calmed down at that state and you're entwined with your body that you can definitely enter into a healthy breathing practice.
I love the location. There was just something about it that I immediately started to relax just being in that part of the city. It was 80th and Broadway, behind and above the H&H Bagels, across the street from Zabar's. And just as soon as I would see that corner, I would start to relax. And I love to walk the 4 flights of stairs up. Sometimes take the rickety elevator. As soon as I opened the door and saw the long hallway, and then to go into the studio itself and see the mats all laid out, you'd hear the sounds of the city filtering up through the big windows. And then on the other end of the room where the heating pipes were, and as the class went on, sometimes you'd hear the sounds of the city, sometimes you'd hear the kind of knocking and clanging of the pipes. And all of those sounds contributed to the sounds that we were making in the class. the resonance and the deep sense of being in a special space. It immediately put me into an altered state.
I know Ketul said when he was closing the studio, he sent out a letter and he explained you don't need to get attached to a physical location to find inner peace, and he would help the students find other locations and teachers. But I just can't help it. There was something special about his 6:30 in the evening class. I've taken yoga classes before and since, and I've never found a place that was quite like his studio.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would take the subway early and I would get off at 72nd Street to be able to walk the last 8 blocks past the grocery stores and watch all the people coming home from work doing their shopping for the evening. It was just a wonderful part of town. On Sunday mornings before class, I would go to Zabar's for coffee and a pastry. It was like Zabar's was my Sunday morning office.
He would say practicing mountain pose, if you do nothing else, is because you've got to get the standing foundation before you can. If you try doing downward dog even and you don't really have standing foundation, your hips and your legs and things will be out of alignment, and then you could hurt yourself, and you're not really doing what you think you're doing. And then when you add the arms coming up overhead, the flying mountain to it, then you're starting to move with a solid base. You've still got the alignment, but you're opening up the shoulder. There have been times cold tile floors and minimal cushioning that I could work with. But even then, even in an echoey room or cold room or room with less than ideal floors, it's still possible with the voice, with the practice, with the breath, with the intention, not just my intention, but the student's intention, and just working with that and the desire to create a relaxing and restorative space. It doesn't really matter what the space is like. I can always work with it. I start by allowing myself to go into that experience that I had in the New York studio. It was such a strong experience that it just stays with me. All I really have to do is just allow myself to go into that experience again.